Productive week, positive week. Guys, we're in a good physical and mental place. One of few opportunities in these recent months where we get what we would class as a normal run-up to a weekend game. So we've been able to get a reasonable amount done. I think that's allowed the coaches and the players to focus firmly on the challenge in front of us at the weekend. Some bodies in and around the group that have had some good physical work and have got themselves into a much better place than they were last weekend. So all in all, a decent build-up in towards the Vancouver game.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start on the floor with Drake Hills. Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, Gary, of course, on the back of the Cincinnati game with Alex and Dan not being available, I'm curious, out of that, tactically, what does that possibly do for someone like Shaq in his situation, trying to make his debut into the team? Does that maybe help or hinder, or is that more of it doesn't really matter?
Well, I think the big challenge for Shaq, and obviously for us as a team, is to get him in the right physical place, number one, so that we're not putting him at any risk. And number two, to give him as much time, as much of a run-in as possible, to build relationships and to understand the dynamic of the group. Personality-wise, as much as tactically. Great lad, very astute individual, very intense individual, and he's had a really good week. So there was always going to be more competition on that right-hand side. The fact that Alex is suspended means that, there are choices to be made, obviously, between Eric or Shaq. Shaq's put himself in a much better position, certainly than he was last weekend. But there's still some questions to be answered about where and how, we make that debut and we put him into the firing line, if you like, making sure that he's obviously in the best possible place to be successful.
Just a follow-up on that. In terms of what you've seen on tape and now having the actual up-and-close personal look at what he can offer, how does that timetable look in terms of him building those relationships with the center backs, with Luke or whoever it is up front, Randall? What does that look like so far?
In the work that we've had and he's been involved in, I think there's a real appreciation from his end of things. When I say appreciation, he's got a good football brain. You don't have to be a great academic. I'm not saying he isn't for 1 minute, but he's had a very good youth and young man, if you like, adolescent upbringing in Europe. He's had a lot of competition. He's got himself into some really good habits, which is great news. All of those things you could see, not only, of course, in some of his club games, but for the national team. I think most importantly of all, he's a very intense and competitive individual. And he brings an extra enthusiasm and edge to some of the training and to the position in general. And, I said many times, we want to try and bring in players that are going to improve the group. I think we've certainly done that with Shaq. So we're moving in the right direction, and I've got to make the decision as to when that's going to be the right time.
In terms of the other side of the field, up front, with Teal coming back to 100% and getting a goal, of course, in Cincinnati, what does that do for your confidence in that group, the attackers, and given where the team is now compared to at this point last year, just a few goals, I think about 8 goals less scored than last year. Where does your confidence level in terms of getting him back? Where does that put you?
Yeah, in terms of stats, we've always got to look at the way that the schedule's unfolded. So, we come into a run of games now, as we all know, that are going to be pretty pivotal, not only in the way we play, but maybe in some confidence that we can build as well in our attacking play, coming back home. Hanny out last week had a big impact on the group. He's moved through the week very well. Again, a decision to make on him closer to to the match day, but he's in a good place. But with Till scoring and putting, I thought, a good performance in at the weekend, and you know, he's still trying to work his way back from the period that he had out. I think he would tell you himself that some more minutes on the field will certainly give him the opportunity to feel a little bit sharper and a little bit more match ready, if you like. But goals for forwards, you know, build massive confidence in what they're doing, what they want to achieve, and maybe how they see the game. The front two for us have been magnificent, CJ and Hanny. Some good competition now from Teal. Randall's back to what I would think, feel like a more natural and realistic Randall after his injury as well. So we've got a couple of guys that have worked their way back from some difficult situations, and I feel very confident about the group that we've got in an attacking sense. I think that can be supplemented for sure with some of the guys that we have wrapped around it. You see Ethan get onto the field for a few minutes at the weekend. You see Luke coming into the game on a regular basis and being effective. And you see Ham Waller on the bench for the first time in a long time. And, you know, I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of Ham Waller. He's such a talented individual, but again, a struggle with some injuries. So I think we've got some nice options there. Of course, it would be great to get off to a bit of a flyer at the weekend in the start of these 7 out of 9 at home.
Last one for me, just want to get a status on Anibal. Is he in the gym? Is he getting work in alone with any of the staff? What's his status?
He's out on the field now. He hasn't joined the full training today, but he's made some nice strides. He's getting some decent work done with the physiotherapy department, and he's moving into some more natural movements, some situations that he's more likely to see, but controlled. I would expect that he'll be in the group next week, and we'll get some reasonable work done. He'll travel with us when we go next week. Hopefully that's as part of the team, and if not, it'll be to get some more realistic work into him around the group and be connected to the group, and you know, just keep him on his toes as well. He's getting eager, you know, internally to be back in the group. So we've got to keep the reins on him a little bit, but he's not far away, for sure. He's not far away.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go to the Zoom with Tim Sullivan and Claudio Villalobos. Go ahead, Tim.
When you look at how your schedule has played out, not just this year, but the last couple of years, it seemed like you guys were so often playing on shorter rests than your opponent. I'm seeing that Vancouver had their Canadian Championship match on Tuesday. Do you feel like this is a situation where you're finally the team that has a little bit more chance to rest than the opponent?
Yeah, maybe so. It's never easy, that is for sure. I think they played at the weekend against Chicago, and then they've had a reasonable turnaround. It was a tight turnaround for the Tuesday game, but obviously they get slightly longer rest for this one. I think they've got a good group. You know, the team's been rotated to a reasonable degree. There's a lot of guys that have got minutes out of their roster. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see one or two faces that didn't start that game on Tuesday. Of course, the journey can sometimes be a bit of a bind. We have that the following week, of course, when we go to Portland. So, you know, I think all the teams are finding it with the schedule as condensed as it is, you know, with the World Cup, of course, you know, asking some questions of everyone's, you know, domestic scheduling. Hopefully we can take advantage of that this weekend. I certainly won't be basing my game plan on them being tired or having jet lag.
Go ahead, Claudio.
Gary, when you look at this Vancouver team, a couple of things caught my attention at least. Well, the fact that even though they're in the 10th place, they're only 4 points away from Nashville. So, I mean, that may be a lot of points or might be just a few. But the other point is that when they lost to Chicago 3-1 at home, and now they won a couple nights ago the Canadian Championship, which takes them to the CONCACAF. Like they needed more motivation, anyways. But the main question is, on those two rosters, there is only two guys repeating, Cavallini and Cubas. Does that make it more difficult for the preparation for you for this game, knowing that they could just send out anybody and perform? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've for the first time in a good while, I've not tried to guess what their group will be. What I do know is whoever goes out there, they've got a very good game plan. They're very well organised, and they know their roles inside out. Each individual in those particular roles brings something slightly different, for example, to the wing-back areas. You know, they can be ultra-aggressive or they can be a tad more pragmatic about the players that they play. They have the ability to do that. So that's obviously a benefit and a bonus for the coach and for the team. But I'm not trying to guess who will play. I know that it will be a very, very tough game. They know they're on the fringe of something very decent and are in a very competitive position this time of year with 12 games to play, lots of points to play for. They know that a victory here at the weekend does them the world of good. What we know is if we can edge the game our way and we can add 3 points to the board, we put ourselves in, you know, a very decent position in comparison to Vancouver. But most importantly, I think we've got to keep an eye on ourselves, the points that we need. We're very much in control of our own destiny at this point with some decent home games to come. But nobody should take anything for granted in these next 7 at home. I don't think we've played a game yet here where I've thought this one's going to go our way. I have absolutely no doubt about this. The team we're playing against are not showing any desire or any inclination whatsoever to beat us. I've not seen a game like it. And I know I've mentioned on many occasions, the day that you walk out in MLS and say that you're going to beat this team because of their league position, or maybe an assumption you've made of the team, is the day that you lose. It is that tight. You can throw a handkerchief over 3rd to 12. All of those teams are in with a shout and have got a fantastic opportunity of being in the postseason. We are one of them, and we have to prove our worth every weekend.
Thank you, Gary. We'll wrap up your session today with Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
You mentioned it Saturday night, and then you just mentioned it again, this run of home games that you have coming up with just a couple on the road before that break before the final 2 games there. How do you take advantage of these home games? What does your team need to do to, I guess, even, you know, better than you have, I guess, so far this season, take advantage of Geodis Park and take advantage of your home field advantage and you know, get the results that you're looking for?
Well, look, there have been a couple of games thus far, Tim, that we could certainly look at and say we should have got more out of. I think the majority of the performances here have been very competitive. We've shown some nice, positive, productive play, creative play. We've put ourselves in some good positions and not quite seen it through. To get the very best out of these 7 at home, we've got to try and bring the full picture together, start well, take advantage of our opportunities, and then manage the game well. Be professional. Earn the points that you deserve, and don't offer the team that for sure have an ability, don't offer them a chance to get back in the game. So we've got to bring all those facets together. We've got to take each individual game as it comes. Let's not look too far ahead. I think the confidence will be built, if we can, over the course of the games that we've got. And at the end of it, my hope is not only have we got enough points to be in the postseason, but we've built some momentum and some confidence which every team wants to have going into those latter stages. So that's the challenge. It's a difficult one, but it's the same every year.
This man-up mentality is like a playerism, but I'm curious from your perspective, you know, what does that mean considering what you've offered and what the opportunity and what you think this team needs from you the weekend?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to someone earlier about this. They asked this question, and I think the mentality of this group and the mentality of our team is, you can have to be ready at any moment, whether that's as a sub or starting. And as a professional, you never know what's going to happen with injuries or yellow cards or whatever. And the way that we train and the way that I think we're all programmed and wired is to be at the best at any given moment. And my time is this weekend, so I do have big shoes to fill, and I'll keep them warm for him. So.
Just a follow-up from me, Taylor, just about the team has been streaky historically, right? So tons of draws, tons of wins in a row. But this team this year has gone through the ups and downs, obviously, with the road trip, and then of course everything that's followed since. How would you describe where the locker room is right now going into this part of the season? It's gritty. August is around the corner. How would you describe where the team is and just the morale right now?
Yeah, I think you hit a really good vocabulary word on it. Gritty. We've been through a tough stretch of away games, right? And I think that adversity and everything that we've gone through is going to shape us for these next 9 games, right? 7 at home, and I think all the guys are hungry. The older and veteran guys are, you can see it in their eyes. They're more locked in, and they want to really make this time and this stretch count. And I think the younger guys are really adhering to that. And we have a great opportunity in front of us with a positive mindset. We have to believe that we're going to get these points and make the most of it.
Thank you, Drake. We'll go to Tim Sullivan on the Zoom. Go ahead, Tim.
Billy, this is going to be the final MLS team that you guys have never played before. You will finally knock the last one off. What have you seen out of Vancouver so far, and what are you expecting to see when they come in to Geodis on Saturday?
Yeah, I watched some of the game for the Canadian Cup. I know they rotated some bodies from the weekend as well. I think the addition of Gressel, they're a team that at any given moment can have, an incredible attack. They like to throw numbers forward. They're good at switching the point of play. And they haven't played us either, though. They haven't played against our defense, which is one of our fortes. So I think it's going to be an excellent matchup. I actually didn't know that was the only team remaining not to play. That's sort of exciting. But I do think it'll be a really great game.
Go ahead, Claudio.
Taylor, the coaches stated a few minutes ago, it's not easy to just win games in the MLS any day. But, and also it's not easy to remain undefeated like the team was in Nissan Stadium and Jolies Park at the beginning. Obviously, that's changed a little, but can you tell if there's anything that the team has been lacking that maybe have prevented the Nashville from winning days at home?
No, I don't think there's anything ever lacking, especially in our locker room. I think the professionalism, the way that we train, and I think the mentality that we have approaching each and every game, we always expect or try to win 3 points, right? That's anyone. And I think all of us have the expectation and belief that we will win. Sometimes, though, in life, there's going to be lulls where things don't go as you planned. But I think the beauty of that is taking that, harnessing in what lessons were learned, taking in what happened so that you can win the next time. And I think that's the most important thing of these next stretch of games is winning.
Thank you, Taylor. Next, we'll go back to Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
So you guys have added bodies in the middle of the summer each of the past 2 seasons. This is the first time it's been a guy who's at your position group. So have you been kind of helping Shaq learn the ropes of your system and all those sorts of things, or is it a situation where since he's on the other side, you're staying away from him?
No, that's so funny. I think Shaq, his professionalism was seen, the first minute he came in. He's a U.S. national team player. The level he conducts himself in training and in preparing for even training, is high caliber. But he's a great guy to get along with too. Super fun, super funny. I have definitely not stayed away from him. I think some of the sessions that we had leading up to even today have been, small-sided games, you know, build out play and everything. And even after today, you know, he's come over to my side and talked about, you know, what happens when we're building out. Look for this, blah 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 blah. So you know, he's integrated very, very well already into the team.